The reason why most people are not artists today is because of a voice that's probably not their own telling them that it's bad. And so a lot of what we're doing is unlearning and like embracing that artistry, seeing what you can create and reinstilling confidence that you can create things. What I think I've noticed when people connect to a vision that is truly authentic to them is that they will progress. It's literally just they have that connection and then they'll go a lot faster than I could have imagined. Sometimes like startling to see the progress somebody will make, but it's because they're either going up a hill one way for like 5 years and I'm like, well, this way is like downstream and it'll go faster, and all of a sudden they're getting results.
Welcome to the call, everybody. I've got a semi-new friend I've known for a bit now, since Canada. I met him in Canada at Eli's entre ski, is ski and become a better businessman event for businessmen that and women that really want to go out and give back to the world. And you were one of the keynote speakers, and you really help CEOs change the way they see they could develop their vision. I know that. And I know you also love to write songs and help people develop their songs, write jingles or ditties. I don't know what you would call them.
I like songs. I like to call it heart songs.
Heart songs. I was mentored by a jingle writer at one point.
Nice. I can talk about that later.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And you also run workshops helping people to really develop would you say develop their voice, or?
I like to say at this point to access their muse. So to connect to that source of creativity and inspiration and bliss, and which is a superpower if you're able to connect to it. And it's almost like a superpower that's also not based on your ego. It's like based on flow. But then, it could be music, or it could be other artistic passions, creative passions. For the people that are longing for sharing expression one way or another, I could tell right away when someone is resentful of their life because they're like repressing something. And one of my favorite things to do is really just help someone be aware of where they're holding on to resentment. And then essentially once it like clicks, a lot of times then people are able to tap into that next creative pursuit. But the retreats that I do right now are really focused on songwriting, and that's a channel. That's like a creative focus. But then if you can access your ability to write a song, it ends up carrying over to other areas of life.
I believe that. It's a very interesting thing, being able to express emotionally through music. I think it would be very therapeutic, even though I've never personally really done it. I've done it through speaking. Yeah, not yet. You're tempting me for sure. But I want to ask you about the resentment, because that was fascinating what you just said there, because I remember, was it Seth Godin? He said he could tell how long a couple's going to be together by the level of resentment, or they could almost predict it up to the months they're going to break up or something by the amount of resentment they got buried in their body. I don't know if that was Seth Godin or there was somebody like that. I think it was in Blink, the book Blink.
Jeez. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It's almost like we all have resentment thresholds or a tolerance. And you could tell when a couple is at their limit because they'll talk about how much they don't like their partner immediately. It'll be like, oh, it was like 3 seconds and they're already complaining about their partner. It's like, okay, they're like at the max of how much resentment they can hold on to. Versus other couples where, you could go dinner parties and, it takes a month before they share what they resent where they have resentment. So I'm getting married in 2 weeks, by the way. So I have my awareness of resentment and relational dynamics, and not that I have it figured out. I'm just aware.
Well, isn't it so important in a relationship, especially a marriage or a serious relationship, that you got to be constantly cleaning out that resentment? Like, you can't let that build up at all, right? I mean, I would imagine that's not just true with marriage, but that's true with anything you love. Like if you're a musician, towards the music, if you're building a business, towards your business. I mean, how are you supposed to enjoy life? It seems like, since you know something about resentment, I'm kind of curious what you think there.
Yeah, what I'm personally focused on right now is my relationship with my fiance, soon-to-be wife, Cassandra. And normally she will withhold her resentment until around her period, and then she will let it all out. And so there's like a cycle of her unleashing the resentment, and that's kind of cool because it's almost normal. So I'm not scared of it when it happens. And I'm not angry that she didn't tell me beforehand. I'm usually a little bit surprised by what she feels resentment towards, because it's not what I think it was. And it's always like, oh, I didn't do that. And holding space for someone to unleash their resentment, I think is really healthy. Like if you can create a safe space for your partner to share without you
like
trying
radical
to
honesty.
defend yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this morning, actually, in pre-wedding planning, I think Cassandra would be cool with me sharing this. I was holding space. She's a tapping coach, like an EFT tapping coach. And so she knows how to do it for herself, but it's nice to be that person to ask questions or to hold space. And so I'm realizing that doing tapping, holding space for her to tap every day leading up to the wedding, like she's just releasing different things. And it's almost like resentment builds up every morning and then at least clears a little bit. So that's like relational maintenance.
Do you look at it as normal? Like resentment is just a normal part of being human? The build up and the release?
I think it's a normal part of being stressed. I think it's like a very common source of discontentment, and it's almost like stress that's channeled towards another person in some way. So I think it's like normal to have it go through, but where what doesn't have to be normal is holding on to it. It's almost just like witnessing it, but then like letting it pass versus like holding on to it because it's connected to trauma that you had or still hold on to. But that, I'm also open to your perspective because I haven't had a conversation on resentment yet. So this is a new territory for me.
I like the conversation because I think it's such a powerful topic. And I imagine all these people out there that have been holding resentment for a lifetime, for years and years, and they just bottle it up. And I've been thinking more and more lately, and as you were talking about it with your CEOs and the people you work with, that a big part of our jobs as coaches is helping to clear all that resentment out as much as they can. Because think about, I don't know if have you seen this with a client where they let go of a bunch of resentment and then suddenly the whole relationship to their business or whatever they're dealing with changes, and they become a different person with the business.
Yeah, all the time. Resentment is, I guess, the antithesis of you taking ownership because you're kind of blaming somebody else for your own circumstances. So then it's like empowering if someone can actually reconnect to like, oh, I caused this one way or another, and I'm the one holding the resistance, and I'm the one that's actually suffering because of this, not the people I feel the resentment towards. So that is actually a constant thing in coaching conversations to help people see.
Well, I ask these questions because I get the feeling that you know more about resentment than you realize.
I am a resentment coach, changing everything. Addressing
this is a
resentment
new business model.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have resentment? No. Yeah, it'd be an awesome business model. So I remember hanging out. Now that we're past the resentment, I got to get all this resentment in.
Yeah, you're getting it out right now. It's great.
That's right. I remember hanging out with you in Canada, up in Banff, and it was awesome. I remember we sat down that first night we got there. We talked at that restaurant for quite a while, and it was a really good talk. Simpatico, yeah. And Courtney was just here, and you two remind me of each other. I just interviewed Courtney.
Oh yeah, she's great.
And she's awesome. And what you remind me of is you're both really good listeners. You both really get what it is to open somebody up and really get them to share stuff they probably wouldn't normally share. And I'm not sure what I want to ask you about that other than I see that as a true art form. And the part of what I like having you on here for is because I think it's not just sharing something, it's healing. When you get people to share a nugget or something deep down inside they've never shared with anybody else, especially as a coach, it can be so therapeutic. do you recognize that talent in yourself, and do you use it consciously? I'm just kind of curious.
I love it. I don't know if I've labeled it as a talent. What I like to share with individuals I work with is that, I'm perversely curious whether I like it or not, but I'm also...
Courtney, you said the exact same thing.
Yeah, she probably took it from me, but that's okay. But yeah, so like holding, I also, I think it's very important to create a safe container. And so while I'll basically, and this also could be some ADHD thing, which, I wasn't formally diagnosed, but I was informally diagnosed by Cassandra, my fiance. So I'll have like a focus, and I really won't stop until I get the answer that I want. And the answer is not a specific answer. It's more of the feeling, knowing that like I've gotten an authentic answer. And so I like to hold a safe space and also be very curious and know that like the other person knows I'm actually interested. It's not like a BS interest. And in some ways, like, the person on the other end of it becomes the kind of celebrity, and that's like all the attention you ever could have been seeking ever, right? Like, I'd like to think that we're kind of creating a world together, and you're receiving that attention, which is that almost like you're finally being recognized for who you deserve to be recognized as. And then all of a sudden it's like very safe to share things. And yeah, so like, I think where maybe there's an art form or talent is in creating a bubble. I keep doing this, I guess, where, basically there's no repercussions for you sharing what you feel called to share. And actually very quickly people will realize like it feels good to share. So it becomes nice, and then obviously extremely therapeutic. And so that's something I've noticed in conversations.
I consider that a gift. The people that I find that do that the best, they really have a gift, because people feel seen and they feel heard. But I always wonder, people that do that, like yourself and Courtney, so well, I wonder, do you guys get seen enough? Because you're so good at turning the tables, and getting the other person to be seen. And do people ask you those deep questions enough, because you both have so much insight. I'm kind of curious. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that is good. I'd like to share that I'm the coach I wish I had. I do have 3 coaches, and I also regularly look for those safe spaces. But who knows? Because I know what I want, because I'm in my own mind all the time. I feel like I get different things from different coaches. And, I like to be that person that can help somebody, holistically. And I know that every coach has their own, that's the egotistical side in some way. And it's more of like a determination to help somebody. And so, do I think I have myself outside myself? Not necessarily, but I do think I have pretty damn good coaches that serve me in different ways. So that's, that's my answer.
You don't know what the future holds. You might have an AI version of each of us eventually. So then,
yeah, which then is like, that seems like that's the pathway right now. And that, that's where I have resentment towards AI people who create AI, only slightly.
Well, we'll have to work on that today. Get that resentment out.
Yeah, I think it's just letting go. Well, let's talk about AI for 1 second, because I also write songs, and there was always a thought of like, well, AI will become garbage men and other jobs that are not necessarily supremely desirable to everybody. But then it turns out that AI is really good lawyers and accountants and artists, actually. So roll is safe, and I think there is like a good opportunity to let go of your ego, because I have a lot of ego. Where my ego mainly hangs out is in songwriting and music, and feeling like my identity is attached to those creations, which is, the opposite of what I was sharing before about the muse, and the idea that actually it's the muse that inspires the creation, not your ego. That's an energy right there. I figured I would share.
Well, I've thought about that a lot, and oddly enough, I'm not too worried about it. I worried for a little bit in the beginning, and then I thought, AI is going to put so many people out of jobs. And then I started thinking of that. You ever see that cartoon WALL-E? Everybody's just sitting in a little cart all fat and they're living in a pod. And I thought, it's kind of we're heading towards a world where everybody is, I don't know if they're going to be on universal basic income or what's going to happen, but it's going to be an interesting world we're heading towards. But I always think consciousness always leaves room for a solution to make things better. So that solution will show up. And it'll be interesting to see what it is and where it goes and what you and I will be choosing to do at that point. So tell me more about Dave. You're such a creative guy, and you're such a feeling guy. And I know you love music and the expression of music. Now, the reason I created this podcast, the way I'm asking that question is, the reason I created this podcast was to inspire people, to allow people to meet people that have chosen to live their life on their terms, to break free from the rat race, to really live from the upper scale of emotions, from David Hawkins' emotional scale: courage, acceptance, love, peace. And I really feel like you're doing that. You're moving in that direction. You've done that. You've got that life. And, you're talking about this beautiful retreat you're doing in Hawaii, where we're going to be out in this gorgeous part of Hawaii, singing songs and just living this amazing life, living your best life. When I ask, tell me about Dave, I'm kind of curious, were people out there that are wanting to be inspired to go to this level in their lives? What did you have to get to? What did you have to go through to become this guy that can live this kind of life?
I think that's a great question, and I don't pretend to know all the answers. I don't necessarily feel like I am living the perfect life, and I do think that I've had experiences that have allowed me to tap into my own courage that would be an above average degree of courage, which has allowed for an above average degree of interesting experiences, to say the least. And I guess I could just share COVID and how COVID was like it was 2 to 3 breakthroughs at once. Because I was working for another company at the time, doing copywriting, where I'm writing for thought leaders and that sort of a thing. And I was still doing my own coaching to a lesser degree. And I was in my band, the Tins, where I played the drums. And I like to joke that I was a backseat drummer because I was a co-writer of all the songs, but I wanted to sing, but I didn't have enough confidence to sing. And so I just kind of wrote songs for others to sing. And basically COVID happened, at which point, I guess I kind of like lost my job. And then I also didn't, like the band disbanded. We're still exist online, but we don't really play or perform together. And so it, kind of entered into that space of emptiness and darkness. And I was fucking petrified of losing my job for many years. And I was petrified of the band ending for years. And so it was interesting. I guess these are good problems to have for sure in the scheme of things. And I was just like so scared of having nothing. I thought that the band was my gateway to music and contribution and my self-worth. And I thought that the job was my way to make money. And the funny thing is that when both of those opportunities kind of disappeared or ended, I found myself happier. And then it was like, there was like this empowering realization of, oh, I can create what I want actually. And now I have the space to do what I want to do. And that was when I started to release music and write music as Davey Harris. And I actually got some really cool opportunities as a result of that. It hasn't been perfect, but it's a destiny that I know that I am the key influence of. And then I also had the courage to start my own company and start to help people on a larger scale. And that has been rewarding. And, I would say I go, like, you talk about the different energies on the Hawkins scale. And I don't think that I was like cruise control at really high courage and peace and love. It's kind of like wavering. And I think I waver today.
Well, there's something about the Hawkins scale people don't realize, or the lesser Leviton scale, is that at the level of courage, you're still 50% ag flout. You're still feeling, the reason you need courage is you're feeling all that down there. If you didn't have all that down there, you'd be up a piece. And so, yeah, it's normal. If you're riding on that just above 51%, let's say courage, you're going to be dipping down a lot, but you're going to be seeing it from courage. So I see you doing that. That's all I'm saying. That is because when I watch you, that's where I see you. As I see you, yeah, I'm scared, but I'm doing it anyways. I'm nervous, but I'm going to show up anyways.
That is my superpower. I like to tell people, like, whether I am performing in front of a lot of people, or doing something I haven't done before, or having a business opportunity with certain individuals that could scare the pants off of me just for like the level of business. I am such an opportunist that I will like do it anyway, and just accept. And so I've definitely jumped off the plane without a parachute a lot. And sometimes you like hit the ground and you become a pancake, and then I'm like, that really sucked. And then I find that I don't want to take risks for a certain amount of time. But fortunately, it seems to be in my nature to eventually want to get back up and jump off the plane again, because it's actually a way more fun experience of life.
I know that feeling. You can only sit at the bottom so long. You're like, oh, that sucked, but time to get back up.
Yeah, and just something interesting about getting married in a few weeks, and I feel like I was holding on to this coasting type of energy for the past several months, and then I had a bachelor party thing, bachelor weekend. It was a lot of fun, and then in my brain I was just like, okay, let's play a bigger game, and I went into high performance mode, which I can get into like lazy sloth mode and high performance mode, and I've been in high performance mode for about the past 2 weeks. And before that point, I was wondering if I could even like access this level of energy again, because I'll kind of go in cycles that are sometimes a year long or a few months long, and it was in a cycle of not feeling super high energy, but also I think preparing myself and like charging up. And so the past 2 weeks have been really freaking productive, and it's almost like remembering my power and the power of being a magician. And it's I like to share it because I do a lot of things, because people are like, how do you do all these things at once? And there's obviously the expression of, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. I feel like either like all my businesses are succeeding and my relationships are going well and I'm making money and I'm happy and the music is like, I feel like it's almost everything's working, or like nothing is working. I don't really have like a moment where I'm like, well, this is good and this is not. It's almost like this all-inclusive, like either the ecosystem and spider web of life are like solid and everything's just energized, or it's not. And I'm remembering that I do have the power to make things work. So I'm sharing this for myself and also for others listening, to just remember that you do have the power. It just requires commitment.
Yeah, I think what you just said there is so valuable to the audience, because a lot of people, when they first start out, become an entrepreneur, and I think entrepreneur is one of the ultimate paths to personal growth, right? It's not just about building a business that makes money. It's about changing who you are at a fundamental level and realizing you're the creator of abundance in the world for other people and yourself. So when you first go on that path, it's normal to have those ups and downs, as you're building that path. And I think that's super healthy, because it's part of it is the elimination of the parts of your ego that think you can't be abundant. Sometimes you go down, you need a break, you need to clean that inner world up a little, and you come back and see the results in your outer world, and you see that inner world again, you see that outer world again, and then eventually it comes together and there is no inner or outer, and I think we're all on that path, man, as we get bigger and bigger, because we play a bigger and bigger game. So the path, it's like now we're doing it with 100,000 a year, then we're doing it with, or 50,000 a year, then 100,000 a year, then 500,000 a year, and it's just a million a year, and it keeps going up. And so I really salute people that are on that path. And I salute people like yourself that are on that path that aren't A-type personalities. You don't seem like an A-type personality to me. Are you?
I think that I'm a control freak, but not necessarily an A-type personality.
You seem like a person that knows, like A-type seems so intense. You never feel intense.
Yeah, I think there are moments where I'm intense, and there are moments where I'm not intense. And, I don't think I'm a good judge of myself, so I don't even necessarily know the best way to answer that. But yeah, I have moments of intensity and being controlling, and then I also have learned that I only have two management styles, and one is micromanaging, and the other is being completely aloof. And so I guess I do recognize my own shortcomings in that one area, and realizing that I have like moments of being intense to like share, and then I know that it's best for me to just kind of be me at my best as a fun magician, man. I guess it means bringing the light to conversations and to people, and not necessarily taking credit for things, but facilitating other things happening, and it's adding that degree of mystery. But then like good things happening all over, and for other, and like kind of being that source of light that you're here to help other people, and then you get helped too. And that's my what first comes through. But a lot of it is seeing the magic in life, and then helping others to see the magic in life and of life.
That's interesting. Is that why you look at yourself as a visionary coach? Because it seems like that's almost what I would think the definition of a visionary coach would be.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to not work well with people that don't want to see the magic in their life, or be willing to explore where things can be magical or fun or enjoyable. I took a personality test once where this was a very unorthodox personality test, but I got alchemist jester as my dominant was alchemist, and then my secondary was a jester. And I think of that often, and how life is kind of a joke to me as well. And I think why individuals sometimes enjoy conversations is because I can kind of joke about anything, and then it takes the pressure off, and then people realize, it's like you remember that life can be fun at any point. And it seems to be another pathway for alchemy as well.
Finding, you say the pathway is helping people see the fun in life, and even under the stress and the tension. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. If you're having fun, then there's a higher degree of something working out than if you're not having fun. I mean, even just think of your body. If you're stressed, there's a higher likelihood of disease, a higher likelihood of some kind of problems, and there's a blockage of flow, as you're more aware than I am. When you're having fun, there seems to be levity, and it's another pathway for flow to happen. And sometimes it's, I guess it's like the sugar with the pill for a child, where you don't even realize you took the pill when you're eating a donut. I remember eating a donut and had a pill as a kid, so there you go.
And so as a visionary coach, because that's one of your specialties, is helping CEOs develop their visionary vision. Is that all part of your process? Can you talk about what is it to be a visionary coach? And I'm seeing this part of you're talking about alchemy, and you're talking about seeing the magic in the world and the fun. What are you helping a coach or person do when they're developing their vision? Because I think it's such an important skill. So many people can't find their purpose. Let alone a vision. They can't find they don't really have a reason for doing a lot of things they do, and they kind of, or they're repressing it or holding it back. And I always think people all have a purpose, right? And so when you use that term visionary, I don't know if you're using it in a different way or the same way. I'm kind of curious what you're helping with there.
The first thing I like to do is an initial vision session. And that is where somebody connects to what they actually want. And most of the time, this is not us creating something new. It's more of us getting rid of the clutter that's there so that people can finally see what's there. It's kind of like you're entering into a room, and most people's rooms that would represent their vision are covered in dust and crap, and you don't even really know what the original room was, because there's just like so many coatings of paint. Actually, it's funny, in this property in Hawaii where we're going to be, they're renovating it, and they're actually taking, like, the initial stone that they had is way nicer than the paint. There was like a paint job on the property, and so they're investing all this money to basically get rid of all the crappy paint that was on this property because the original stone is so beautiful.
Yeah, why do people do that? I've seen that, and I hate that. Oh, yeah. People paint over some beautiful bricks or whatever. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's great. And so a lot of, I'd say what my role is helping people to clean that room, and then remember what it actually looks like, and knowing week after week or month after month, like, it's not a surprise to me that room would get dirty again or get coated with crap. And so, a lot of my role would be helping to clean that room again to its original form. Another way of putting it, if you couldn't tell, I like to speak in analogies and metaphors, is, sometimes when I'm helping somebody with their vision, it's me giving them a better pair of binoculars so that they can see further out, and then they can see all the way, which is helpful and true. But most of the time, it's actually just moving the big fucking boulder that's in front of their face. And they actually have a good enough pair of binoculars.
Do you feel like everybody has a vision? I mean, I know I said that earlier, but that's just my opinion. Do you feel like everybody or do they have to develop it? Is there something there, like a purpose waiting for each individual? Or is it nobody has a set purpose and they just choose it? What's your take on that from when you're working with people?
Yeah, I think for different people, some individuals connect to their vision on a whole other level, and that's really fun to work with individuals like that, because in a way you're just empowering that vision and clarifying that vision. There are a lot of people most people on the planet are ones that don't really have a vision. But I've worked with people that are, CEOs of extremely large organizations. And I've also worked with individuals that wish to be a CEO one day. And obviously there's a certain type of person that would benefit or desire having me on their side, because they want that edge, which means there's a certain degree of ambition. So I've worked with 1,000 people. Everybody that I've worked with at least has some kind of ambition somewhere, and so that may be a distinguishing characteristic. Where so I can't speak for everybody. I'm speaking for 1,000 people who have some degree of ambition, but it varies. There are certain individuals who don't think they have a vision and haven't thought about a vision. They just have like one step ahead that they're curious about. And one of the things that it's fun to do is get people to like, spill the beans on their vision and realize like, oh yeah, someone did want this. And it, like as an example, there's one person who did want to own a lot of real estate, but didn't ever connect that to their vision. And so it was, I was sharing before about the spider web or the, the ecosystem of your, within your life. And there may be like one node that's active here and one that's not. And so, what I'd like to help people do is connect all the dots so that things feel like flow and are seamless. And then it's easy to identify what really doesn't fit with their vision that has just been them trying to appease somebody else. To go back to resentment, the really nice thing is once you're really connected to your vision, you look at the areas where you have resentment. And a lot of times it's basically because there's something blocking your vision from somebody else.
So the resentment is there because something's blocking your vision. So you have resentment towards the thing that's blocking your vision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting.
But I also think, some people this is an interesting conversation around vision because one of the things, like, can you see it directly? But, there's like your third eye having a vision that, or like your subconscious having a vision, the whole idea that like, there's only so much of our brain that we're aware of, like the inner workings of happening at any one time. And so, yeah, the thing that could be cool that I haven't talked about before is that perhaps your subconscious is holding on to this vision and your conscious is not aware of it. And then through the right questions, you can kind of connect the two. And then that's when you're living an intentional life.
That's interesting because I've often found, and I'm kind of curious if you run into this a lot, the subconscious is holding onto a vision that doesn't serve somebody too. Like something that's purely egoic or selfish, and it's really screwing them up because deep down inside they feel it. Do you run into that a lot? I find that a lot of people, that's another something that I would imagine has to be cleared.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. And yeah, I guess I like to tell people that I don't judge their vision, and if it's pure, assuming no one else is getting harmed in the process, then it's, here to help somebody. Because sometimes people have a vision that may be egoic, but they almost need to reach it to then see what's really there. And so it's still part of this pathway. Because, there's an interesting thing. Like there are certain people that, work with them. They may hold on to a vision that would seem on the outside to be really egoic. But I don't know. I guess there's this thought of, people, like you can do some weird, shallow things, but then somehow you help other people through your own shallow efforts. And I feel like that's happened to me before where like I'll try to do a thing specifically for like an intention of making money or something. But then years later, I'll be like, oh, that actually really helped this person or that person. So I don't necessarily have a good answer for you, but I think if it's like a bullshit vision that was planted because of your parents or something of like, you should do this because it's the right thing to do, that's something to bring up and be like, hey, this is actually totally misaligned with what you truly wish for. So that it would be an area where I'd be like, yeah, definitely,
Yeah, I think that's what I was more thinking of. That sometimes people have these visions that just don't serve them, and they don't even want it, but they think they want it. I see this all the time. I was like I remember years ago I had these two clients come into a workshop, and one of them said he wanted to. It was a dating workshop back when I did those, and he said, I really want to date all these women, have sex with all these women, and then I want to find a girlfriend. And then another guy got up and said, I really want to just find a girlfriend. And we videotaped them and played back and really did a deep dive into their subcommunication. And I remember playing back the subcommunication, it was reversed. The guy who said he wanted to have sex with all these women didn't. And I started questioning him, and like, he feels so incongruent. It feels painful when you say that. And he goes, well, yeah, I feel like if I don't go have sex with all these women, I'll someday, be resentful or upset that I didn't, and after I get with my girlfriend, so it feels like something I just have to get out of the way. But he really just wanted a girlfriend, and the other guy who wanted a girlfriend he secretly would like pull back from that. And I asked him a lot of questions and really got to the point where I just want to go have sex with all these women and party for a bit, but I'm really ashamed of that idea. I feel like that's bad. You're not supposed to want that. And it was really interesting to see the two crossed like that. And when they finally said what they wanted, there was like this relief on them, like, I can finally admit that. I was scared too. So I just didn't know if you run into stuff like that. It's a fascinating thing to me. I don't know, did you want to comment on that before I move on? That was...
Yeah. Again, I'm not perfect. And when I'll ask people for their vision, we really get, like, every conversation really gets to the point of, like, what do you actually want? And then who is the you that's talking here? And I think where I'm decent, because I care and listen, is that I can kind of tell when someone has an answer that's inauthentic or BS or not coming from, like, the source of who they are in their deepest way. And so I think that's something really fucking nice. Maybe that's like a bonus of, when I think about how I can help people, is basically calling BS on when they're sharing about a vision or something, and just getting to, like, the why and, like, the onion of the why. And eventually if someone realizes that it's BS, then that is a very satisfying thing on the other end of it, of, like, seeing that aha and realizing that they don't need it anymore. And so it's almost also like the completion of, like, an ineffective vision or an extraneous vision.
Yeah, I think that's where your talent lies. When I talk to you, I can see it. It's you really like digging into somebody's deep into their stories. And really, like if you're talking about peeling the onion, I have this image of you peeling their subconscious mind back and digging another layer and another layer, and really just laying it out. Here's the next layer. What do you think? And I could totally see you doing that because I've seen you do it. You're very good at it.
Thank you. Yeah, one of the other things that's really cool is when you repeat back to somebody their vision, you can also tell, like, how aligned it really is. And, I'll be neutral when I'll reshare someone's vision and what they actually want. And they're like, no, it's actually not that. It's like, it's like, it may take a conversation to get to the truth.
That's because they don't really know, do they? They're not conscious. They don't consciously know. Unconsciously, it's in there, but they don't consciously know, do they? Wow. How freeing is that when you finally get congruent with your vision consciously with your unconscious? God, you must see some interesting changes in people when that happens.
What I think I've noticed when people connect to a vision that is truly authentic to them is that they will progress in that vision. And it's not like I'm not doing anything. It's literally just they have that connection, and then they'll go a lot faster than I could have imagined. Sometimes, like, startling to see the progress somebody will make in a week. But it's because, it's like they're either going up a hill one way for like 5 years, and I'm like, well, this way is like downstream and it'll go faster. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then, like, all of a sudden, they're getting results.
What about your other big business is your music? You really love music, don't you? And you said you were afraid to be a singer. I remember that. You were hiding in the background, right? You said as a drummer. And but now you're a singer. And you love to sing. What caused that change? Your vision came to the surface. You got congruent, and you became a singer. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I think that there was always a part of me that wanted to be a singer. And, I don't know about always, but there was, as I was learning drums, I was also thinking about, like, oh, it would be cool to be a singer too. And then, I remember, like, learning the drums, and I'm a maximalist, couldn't tell. And so I would, like, learn the drums and the piano and guitar. And I was, like, learning all the things. And in my head, I was always like, man, I could do it all if only I could sing. And then joining.
So were you dancing around the singing by learning all these instruments? That's interesting.
Yeah. And then, and what's funny is, like, I wanted to be a singer. So I took singing lessons multiple times from different people. and it was like trying to light a match, and it never quite lit. And like I had one singing instructor, and they definitely did not seem like super thrilled about my voice or anything. And then it was only when like I was sharing a demo that I wrote for another band member, and then I was sharing it with somebody else who was supposed to help us with things, and he was like, "Oh, you have a nice voice," and that was like a mind fuck to me, because it was, I could like literally know the exact moment when somebody said anything positive about my voice, and then it planted a seed, and then that seed led to an opportunity for me to record a demo of my own music outside of the band. It was like my dirty secret, but then I shared it with the band, and then that demo was what then connected me to a mentor who is obsessed with Joseph Campbell and following your bliss. And, I basically went through a mentorship experience actually with two individuals, and definitely brainwashed myself in all the right ways around following your bliss, and realizing that, okay, well, doors will open for you that wouldn't open for others when you're truly following your bliss. And I was able to truly acknowledge that, creating music was my bliss. And the thing that was funny about that, I was mentioning like the COVID before and after. And right before COVID, I remember thinking about my knack for songwriting and how I thought it was a curse. And I just remember like sitting in my den area on my couch, like my little bachelor pad, and writing a song, and thinking about how it was a complete waste of time, and how like it felt good in the moment, and it was like escapism, and I felt like it was dangerous to have this connection, and how it wasn't actually productive. It wasn't like making me money. It wasn't helping me with my work. I didn't really know how to place it, other than like I was like, and I knew I was good at it also. Like I knew I was like extremely above average at this thing that then worked with my ego to like have me do the thing. And yeah, reconnecting to
you
bliss.
felt like the songwriting wasn't serving you. It was just a waste of time, like scrolling Instagram to distract yourself. Interesting. Yeah. Wow. I think really good songwriters, that's a talent, man. That's a real talent. And I heard one of your songs at Banff that was really cool. So that's interesting to me. And so that changed.
Yeah, I had to relearn, and then I was like, wait, when did I truly pursue this? And I always kind of did, but even when you're mentioning, what I really wanted was to actually write everything, at least for one exercise in songwriting, and then share that. And I then gave it my college try to actually go for it, and different doors have opened up, are opening up. It's, I wouldn't say it's like a perfect, like, oh, everything is so perfect now, but it's a journey. And I like I was saying before, when like in this 2-week sprint right now, as an example, I am actually owning, I'd say, my vision and showing up fully for it, and good things are happening. I had a question for you, and we're probably going to end soon, I think. I had a little formula that I've kind of cooked up, and I'm curious your take on it, and if there's something you'd add, or because it's something that okay, clear intent, the clearest of intention, right? Like, and then showing the fuck up for that intention, which could be your vision, and then being completely unattached to whatever happens. And I've found that formula to be very freeing, and that seems to be where I get to be that magic person. And I know that I'll usually fall into the trap of either, one, not being really clear about what I want, or being really like, attached, which is kind of a scarcity vibe, like really needing something to happen. And so I'm finding one of those two. I tend to be intense and will, like, either the micromanage or not manage at all. Like either I'll show up fully or I will be really distant. But I'm curious what your take is on that, because I've, just sharing with other people listening, it's been helpful for me as of late.
Yeah. I always say that initial internal vision is so important, and if it's not clear and it's not decisive, it's not definitive, let's say, you don't have emotional alignment with it, then you're going to have problems. You're going to manifest what you feel about that initial internal vision. If it's like, I have to get this vision, then you're in attachment and there's a feeling of chasing it. If there's a feeling of, I got to force it into being, then there's a feeling of hard work, right? If there's a feeling of enjoyment and it's beautiful, it can manifest itself almost effortlessly, right? Like, wow, look how beautiful that is. It's going to be beautiful to watch that garden grow, that vision grow. So I agree with you on that. And that's why I like your work around this idea of getting them in touch with their vision, because so many people, they're not clear about what they want. They're constantly changing the vision, the feeling around the vision, the emotional state around the vision, the wanting, the needing, but it's going to be hard, but nope, here's my vision, but it's going to be hard, but here's my vision. And that, it's like changing the address, changing the order with the waiter every 5 seconds, and the waiter's now pissed at you. He's going to just bring you slop instead. And so the most successful people, Mark Zuckerberg, when he created Facebook, he had one internal vision, He had the amount of subscribers, I think it was like 100 million subscribers, and that was it. And he looked at it every day, sat in front of his desk, 100 million, that's going to happen, that's happening, 100 million subs, I see it, 100 million. Every decision, does that help me get to 100? No, take it out. I don't care if it makes us money, throw it out. It doesn't help us accomplish this goal. And it was so clear for him. And, right down to he wore the same T-shirt and jeans, I think, every day, right? This is the old story. Like he had a bunch of pairs of the same exact one. So you didn't have to think about clothes. Yeah. I think that's a great formula. Unfortunately, so many people just don't. I think success isn't that hard, but when I was unsuccessful, it seemed really hard because I had so much doubt and worry. I was constantly screwing that piece up, what you just said. I was changing the image in my mind, thinking about how hard it is. And I'd swear I was thinking about success, but I was thinking about how difficult it was.
Well, it's scary when things work out as you planned, because then it's very easy to ask, are you worthy of this? And you don't even need the thing to go into completion. It's just this. It's very startling for people the second things work out as they want it to, even if it's for a week. And that's why it's important to be unattached. So that's really cool. And it's obviously reflecting on my own life and all the areas that I like to hold on to and squeeze and choke.
Oh, what about your music again? Let's go back there. You're now singing, which is amazing, and you're singing songs for people, and you're putting out these amazing songs for people that you're writing. But you're also teaching people how to express their voice. It's almost like you went the extreme. You went from, I'm afraid to put my voice out there, and I'm going to teach you all how to do it. And I'm not only going to do that, I'm going to do it in gorgeous places around the world. And so your work is around really healing. Would you say it's around healing people's inner voice and letting them get in touch with like really positive music that serves them, writing that song? What would you say?
Yeah. I would consider myself to be a musical mad scientist.
Musical mad scientist. I like that.
I just have a lot of experiments going on at once, and that is literally like play for me, and it's fun. So, on the one hand, I have Davey Harris, which is my own artist. And I have 50 songs to be released. I've released about 15 so far, and every Sunday I try to create space for me to just write music without pressure. And that is like a mandatory, like releasing music as myself. I mean, it's my middle name and whatever, but that's like important to tapping into my values and feeling complete. Like if I don't do that for 3 months to 4 months, something's missing in my life, and I have a little bit lower energy and I feel resentment. And so, that's like almost my own vision maintenance. And then there's the retreats. And so we do the Song of Your Life retreat. We're doing the 4th one this year. And that is going to a beautiful location in Hawaii where, the first goal is just nourishment and rejuvenation and like a safe space, which already makes people creative. Someone was talking about how like if you're in like low ceiling rooms, you tend to not tap into as much creativity as if you had like really high ceiling rooms or, like a giant vista, let's say. And I would say that where we are in Hawaii is one of the best views of the ocean I've ever seen, which then, you're just inspired. And then we do a lot of different muse awakening activities, from dream journaling to arts and crafts, and just like, which is a lot of it is like remembering your inner child and making sure it's a safe space to play, because that's when things come through. Like when it's the same thing goes, like when you don't have pressure on yourself, sometimes pressure can help, pressure can make a diamond, but too much pressure crushes everything and things implode. And so, we're attempting to just have a container. So it's not pressure, but there's a container for then different things to emerge. Now, through this, people have a lot of different healing. The reason why most people are not artists today is because of a voice that's probably not their own telling them that it's bad. Most people. And so a lot of what we're doing is unlearning and like embracing that artistry and, seeing what you can create and reinstilling confidence that you can create things. As an example, we had one woman come the very first retreat, and the first day of the retreat, she's like, I don't know why I'm here. I shouldn't be here. I am not an artist. And like kind of get me the hell out. And
what did I sign up for?
And then by the last day, she declared that she was an artist, and everyone's like clapping, and it was this healing moment. And she even wrote a book and referenced that moment as a pivotal experience in her life. And a lot of that, just really like she wanted to be an artist, and it's just like different voices in your head. So we have the bubble around rejuvenation, creativity, right? And then it's like, where do we apply that to? And then that's where music comes in. Obviously, that has been my primary form of expression. And so I know it well. And so I teach people how to write a song. And so there are certain individuals that have never written music ever. And this is already a breakthrough to like write a song. And then there are others who are advanced musicians. And this is where they have an opportunity to lean into their edge one way or another. And the promise is that the last night, everybody will have written their own song and performed that song. And so it becomes like a really epic concert. It's like a show and tell concert experience. And the other piece of it is, we want for that song, this is the lyric component, for the song someone writes to be either cathartic or an affirmation, or, because true art is like visceral and it's coming from someplace. And so, each person has their own healing journey, and then they almost get to like encapsulate that in a song that like, puts the stamp of like completing a loop, let's say. And it, so that's another interesting element. And I always get like it's a super fun experience that final night. And some people are crying, and some people are like dressing as their artist name. And it, it's like, it's a way to express yourself like never before. And then, but even for the professional musicians, sometimes they like, everybody's holding back something in their art. Most likely there's like one area. And so this is like a very safe space for someone to try something new and prove themselves wrong one way or another. And I like helping people prove themselves wrong.
So I'm curious, if they're going to write their own songs, do you have to teach? What if somebody doesn't play any instruments?
So I would say half the people that come don't play instruments. And I run this retreat with my partner, Steve, who is a very successful saxophone player in the band Marian Hill. And he's also a creativity coach. He will create backing tracks for every person who wants it. It really depends. We have an intake form, and it really depends on what each person's desire is. like as an example, if someone's desire is to like learn guitar, then we will facilitate and catalyze something for that person.
Interesting. And you said something else that was interesting. You said that a song it should be affirmational, or really something that causes some type of, the way I took it is like a cathartic healing from the expression of emotion. Do you find there's a lot of artists out there that are very good artists, but they're reinforcing pain in their lives and suffering through their music? It's like every singer-songwriter out there, right? I broke up with this girl. Yeah, I broke up with this girl. Poor me. Life sucks, you know. And I see that a lot in singer-songwriters. And I have a friend. I'll leave it on this note. And then you answer. He's become a singer-songwriter. He's doing a great job. He really loves Tom Waits. But I noticed all his songs are about heartbreak. And I'm like, dude, you want a girlfriend in your life? Like, why are you singing so much about heartbreak and losing the girl? It's very interesting. So I just wanted to hear your thought on that.
Yeah. On the one hand, if you're able to capture an authentic feeling and expression, then that's really powerful. And so even if it's super sad or angry or anything, like that's really cool to capture that. And then in some ways it helps enhance a mood for somebody else or create an experience, or, you know, and it also is healthy for you to complete that loop. However, it's very similar to like journaling, right? If you were journaling about like a trauma or something that happened and you get it all out, you're like, it's complete. You're probably not going to need to journal about it again in the same way, right? If you find yourself journaling about the same problem that happened when I was 5 years old, and it's like 5 years later or 6 years later, you're still journaling about that same thing, then clearly there's like a loop and like something needs help. And so, you know, there are certain musicians, they're like writing about pain all the fucking time for years and years and years, they're perpetuating that pain. It's not the same as like completing a loop through a song. Because I wrote a song, you know, I was like almost threatened with a lawsuit at one point by a very angry person, and a very weird thing that wasn't actually my fault, but it was still getting me really angry. And I was doing a lot of things. And I wrote a song called Vampire Empire about an energy vampire that was in my life. And it was the angriest I've ever been, and the most like angry I played the drums ever in a song. And you know, I'll play it for some people and they're like, I really like that song. That was cool. And it was like healing for me, and it was for me more than for anyone else. And like, I didn't need to write 3 songs about the same thing. I had that song to express that feeling, but really own it. And so that, I don't know, I guess that's my one thought on, yes, if someone is continuously writing pain about painful things or sad things, and they're perpetuating that, and, you know, songs are spells. And like, I actually found when I was writing songs with my band, a lot of the songs I wrote were more depressing, sad songs. And so I'm very conscious of the music I'm writing that is like, I want it to be healing, even if we're talking about certain things. I want it to either be mysterious or interesting or healing. 2 of the songs that I worked on are actually tuned to different healing frequencies. I was able to work with some talented people in that way, so that's like another level. But yeah, I would just say for artists, like, you know, it's okay to be conscious of that, but also like I mean, personally, I don't want people to like overthink like, oh wait, was that a mean thing that I said, or an angry or a sad thing? Like, when you're expressing, the idea is to express it fully,
and so you can let it go. It's I think of Johnny Cash, right? He wrote a lot of darker, heavier songs, and I didn't think of it, that last song he sang, Hurt, the Trent Reznor song. He nailed that song, even to the point that Trent Reznor said, "That's now your song, it's no longer my song." And I remember hearing Trent Reznor singing it before Johnny Cash did, and thinking how great it was. Then Johnny did it, and you're just like, oh, it's you right here. And you watch the video, and apparently that's the last song he ever did. He died shortly after, right? And he's singing about his wife who passed away, and in there too, he's referencing her and his whole life and Empire of Dirt. And I'm just like, wow, man. You know, I don't know if he his music carried him in that vibration for so many years, or just maybe he was healing because he was in a darker place when he was young, when he was an alcoholic or what, but that's some powerful stuff. But I think the opposite is true too. Like your workshop could be the very thing that facilitates this like spiritual awakening for somebody. Because you're right, you release through something big through music, and I listen to really beautiful music that opens the heart now. My gosh, and that's your voice and you singing it. That could be powerful. That could be really interesting, especially if you're sitting on a beach in Hawaii. Not so bad, huh? Yeah. There's a young singer out there now.
That never hurts. Yeah.
He's so interesting. Gosh, I wish I could remember his name. Kate McCannon. He sings that song, Kate McCannon. He's kind of a country, and he also sings that song about the devil. And he gets really like, he plays the music. I love the way he plays it. He'll be singing really soft, and then he gets angry and he starts hitting the chords really hard. And you can hear him hitting that guitar really hard. And then there's a release in the song, and you can feel the emotional release. Let me see here. Who sang Kate? I want to see if you know who he is. I forgot his name right now. Coulter Wall. Do you know Coulter Wall?
I don't know by name, but that doesn't mean I don't know by song.
Oh, he's a young guy, and he's got this deep voice, and he sings all these different types of songs, and he's got this super deep voice, but he's like in his early 20s, and he's just an anomaly, I think, in the music style and the way he sings, the way he plays instruments with emotion and feeling. Definitely check him out.
I'll check him out.
What he does, he likes to do murder ballads, the old murder ballads from country songs, and
nice.
He gets some dark stuff out there. But that's neither here nor there. I like to ask everybody, I really love how much you opened up and you're sharing about the music, because I can tell the music's very passionate for you. It's very important. And I think music really speaks to the human soul. That's why we love stuff like America's Got Talent, where people get up there and sing like they get that one chance to get on stage and sing their heart out, right? And sometimes they do like that. They just let all that emotion out. And I think it's a way to unlock the heart when done properly, to really unlock the heart and let it flow through you. So I think the work you're doing is amazing in that area. And I think it's an embodiment tool, is another way to put it. Like, I think music is truly, done properly, is truly an embodiment tool. So I'm very interested in your workshop. Where can people find out about that event if they're interested? Or when you're going to do those events in the future? Do you want to share? I'd love for you to share about that.
Yeah. Right now they're very intimate events, and so I don't really publicize it too much.
Do you want me to leave it out for now?
No, you could. It's kind of, it's like the right people will reach out to me, and I vet every person that comes. And so I would just send an inquiry to me, probably via Davey Harris on Instagram. That if you sent me a message there,
Davey Harris,
DaveyHarris, official. Because got to make it official. I was told by somebody that I should have official, so I did, because I think Davey Harris would probably taken. But yeah, that would be one way, or send me an email. I'm using my music moniker of Davey at daveyharris.com.
Davey at daveyharris.com. Okay, awesome. That's really cool.
And this one is October 25th to 29th, 2024 in Hilo, Hawaii.
I'm not sure when this one's coming out, this podcast. We're recording it right now. Hopefully we get it out before that. I'm going to be releasing these over the next... I've recorded about 6 months worth of content ahead of time.
Well, no pressure. And what I didn't mention as well is, I mentioned being a musical mad scientist. So I did a retreat in Buffalo, where I live, a few months ago. And that retreat, the Hawaii retreat is called the Song of Your Life, Soil, Soyl, and it's all about connecting to that song and And so the retreat we did in Buffalo is called The Record of Your Life, Royal. And for the Royal retreat, we were in a recording studio that I go to frequently. My former band members run it. And the purpose of that retreat was to record one song as a group. And so the same thing where some people have musical background, some people have no musical background whatsoever. And it, guiding people through a similar process, but a different process. And then, eventually creating a song and having different people tap into what they want. We have our intake form. And so when you were mentioning guitar, it's funny because one person barely played guitar, but had a desire to like play guitar on a record. And then he was the guitarist for the record. Another person hadn't touched a violin in about 15 years and had their own, stuff around a violin, trauma, all that. And they played violin for the record. Many individuals never sang before. And that was like a mind-blowing thing to sing. One person after that experience wants to be a bass player now. But we just released that song, and that's under this moniker of Hearts Beat Music. And so I released that this week, actually, or like a few days ago. But that's a cool song that is, I don't know, it's a fun thing to share, showing what people can create.
It's so interesting because it seems so simple, the idea of making a song, making music, but it's so therapeutic for people, especially, and so scary for some people, I'm sure. Like they're, to really sing music, you're putting something out there, and that could be so therapeutic, so healing, so powerful. So I think what you're doing is awesome. It allows, it's people's fantasies. Like, I made an album, I made a song, I got on stage, I sang. Oh my God. Some people can barely get up to do karaoke, let alone really put thought and energy into it. So
the thing I like to joke about the Song of Your Life retreat is the first night, everybody is a little bit nervous and a little freak. Even the professional musicians are a little bit uncomfortable with the idea of having to write something and perform it by the last day. And we do a lot of facilitation the next 2 days, but the final day is really a, free, you have space to just write your song. I'm there as a coach. Steve's there as a coach. But by that last day, everybody is actually just really excited to write their song. Like it's, the nervousness day one transforms into excitement, and I think the results are pretty solid too, as far as what people do create. So
that's nice. And I talk about courage a lot in here, not the physical courage, but the emotional courage. And boy, you're facilitating some emotional courage there. That's the way I see it. So if you're not used to opening your heart, I would imagine getting on stage in front of all these people and singing a song, the song of your life would do that. Awesome. What for somebody that's out there that really wants to break out of, like, as I talk about, living up in courage, acceptance, the upper most part of the emotional scale, and they want to begin to make that move and really live that lifestyle, like a lot of my guests are starting to move in that direction. Is there one piece of advice you can give them to start moving in that way?
Yeah, I won't reinvent the wheel here. I will go back to this little formula around having the clearest intention, which is a.k.a. really knowing what you want and then owning it, showing the fuck up for it. Like if you were showing up 10 out of 10 for this intention, what would you do every day? So you're owning that. And then lastly, really not giving a shit if you fail and you like land on your face. And if you want to go a little deeper, just accepting all the worst case scenarios, which is painful in its own process, but basically accepting whatever the heck happens and then showing up 10 out of 10 anyway. That's what I would suggest.
I think it's great. It's perfect. Beautiful piece of advice. And the last question I have, as we wind this up, I've been asking everybody this because success to me is so relative, and it really is different for everybody. What is your definition of success?
My definition of success is you are generating momentum and progress around your dreams. It's less about a destination because that's so fucking fleeting anyway, and more of you acknowledge the progress you're making and you're going from point A to point B. Because the antithesis of success is stagnancy. In my opinion, that's my personal thing. So it's basically it's movement in the right direction.
It's riding those waves downstream. Yeah, I like it. Well, thank you for being here today, Davey. I should call you Davey from now on. I like that, since that's your artist name.
I'll take it.
Yeah. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk a little bit when we get off the air here, Fred, if you still got time. If you're open, I'll have to hop off the Riverside here, and we can chat on Zoom or on the phone, and then we can talk about your Hawaii retreat a little bit.
Great.
No. With that said, I want to welcome everybody for being here. You're all awesome. Love having you. And when this comes out in the near future, if you're watching this on, say, YouTube or Rumble, check out that comment section. If you fill out that comment section, put in something, it really, especially if there's something vulnerable, something you're scared to share, it really helps everybody to grow. It helps everybody to build courage, helps you to build courage. And I'm always in there the first week or two, really checking them out a lot, seeing what you guys are writing. So I'd love to see what you have to say, and because I grow from them too. And if Davey's around, he wants to check them out the first few weeks they come out, he can hop in there too and join in a little bit. And
definitely.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. So with that said, hopefully you all have a beautiful day, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.